I have sung the role of Baron Scarpia in Puccini's opera Tosca with some of the greatest sopranos of all time, leading ladies, prima donnas, all. I traveled around the world and spoke with these rare legends of the opera, trying to gather some sense of their lives, their sacrifices, their singular devotion to art, their splendid isolation amidst fame, and above all, to answer the question, what makes a prima donna? The prima donna reigned as a solitary jewel in an opulent world where grace, art, and the spectacular were commonplace. But this world, like a precious tapestry unraveling, is vanishing.
I always wanted to sing. Joy in singing, I loved it. I would have sung without any money at all. I loved it so much.
In your time, were you treated as a real prima donna? What was it like? For Trudy, what was it like?
Well, it was rather wonderful.
A time of passionate devotion to exquisite artistic standards.
Were there sort of stage door Johnnies and things
Oh,
like
yes,
that?
many.
Prima donna. It is a word that conjures magical moments in opera, moments that are fading into a time past, a time of glamour and extravagance.
Did you get flowers from strange men who would never show their face?
Yes. You know, they only saw me with makeup on.
That's right.
And I got the flowers for that.
That, for me, is the epitome of prima donna, Maria Callas. You can either serve the master of love, or you serve the master of your art. And I feel that Maria Callas, had she served her art straight through, even though it's a lonely life, she would still be alive today.
You have lots of people who are temperamental backstage and wild and crazy and making lots of what they mean prima donna. This is not a prima donna.
They love me like Renata, not like prima donna.
Absolutely.
You must walk, like Mary Garden says, with your bosoms in great order.
Behind that facade of flowers, success, lights, and so on, there is a life which is a real life and sometimes a very painful one.
Joseph Wishy presents I Live for Art, Tosca.
Gloria Tosca, leading prima donna of Rome and the jealous lover of the revolutionary Mario Cavaradossi, is also desired by the villainous Baron Scarpia, chief of the secret police. In the church of San Andrea, Scarpia plots to have Mario arrested by playing on Tosca's jealousy, making her an unwitting tool in her lover's destruction. In Scarpia's apartment at the Palazzo Farnese, where Mario's screams echo through the room, Scarpia bargains with Tosca for her lover's life. Tosca, who detests Scarpia, agrees to give herself to him in exchange for the promise that Mario's execution will be a mock one. Scarpia's lust overwhelms him, and as he forces himself upon her, Tosca stabs him. At the Castle San Angelo, where Mario awaits his fate, Tosca informs him of Scarpia's promise. To her horror, Mario is actually killed by the firing squad, as originally planned by the deceitful Scarpia. Sought for Scarpia's murder, Tosca leaps to her death in the tragic finale. Tosca's last cry is, Scarpia, we meet before God. Well, we didn't meet before God. We met in London, where the first prima donna I visited was Dame Eva Turner, a living legend of the English operatic stage, who, at 91, still teaches.
It's like the old days to see you here. And you know, it brings back so many memories. I remember being here for a season in English in 1920 with the Royal Carl Rosa Opera Company when I was the prima donna of that. You know, we called prima donna PDs, pay on delivery. And they had really wonderful days. We traveled wardrobe trunks, baskets, and so on. And we paid that out of our salaries, which were rather nominal in those days, really.
When did you sing Tosca in your career? How long did you
Oh, I was quite young with the Carl Rosa Opera Company. I must have been about 22 or 23. I loved it.
It was a complete role.
I think it's a role for every woman. I think that each woman can find something that will speak for herself, not just the prima donna.
She's passionate, she's in love with this man, she kills for the man.
Jealous, like Otello, maybe more than Otello.
So much in love, you know, and so dedicated.
Then he's so religious, and she is in love with Mario.
She believed in her Mario and in her God and her life, for together or nothing.
It's the only opera about the prima donna, I know, but I never felt Tosca is a great prima donna. It's a wonderful, passionate
Human being.
human being.
Yes. Wonderful. Do you feel that you and Floria Tosca are similar in many ways, you know, that she sang?
In many ways, because a prima donna, of course, another prima donna.
She lived for her art, Visidati,
Yes,
for art and for her
exactly,
love.
exactly,
Do you feel that you have in your life?
Oh, yes. I really loved it so much that I wanted to do it above everything, to sing above all. To achieve, it means so much application, perspiration, and so on, matching tones. I don't know if people realize that the singer is the only one in the avenue of applied music whose instrument comes from the subconscious forces. Their instrument is not visual, and therefore the singer, he or she, has to work enormously to get the absolute control of their person and to bring about l'impostazione davanti, which is, of course, the forward placement and the matching of tones, and then making the words pregnant with meaning and becoming so involved.
Besides the wonderful Toscas that you've done, we all know about
Yes.
your tour and that.
Oh, well, I remember being at the Scala when it was being done. You see, I went to the Scala in 1924, and as you know, it was first performed in 1926. And I was asked to get a score, and then I sang it all over. But you know, we did, wherever we sang it for the first time, there was always observed the 2 minutes silence at the point where the pen fell from the hand of Puccini.
The great pity was that the composer's pen had become silent just as his genius brightened and burst to new creative heights during the writing of his last and perhaps greatest opera. The world mourned his passing. It was the end of a tradition. Puccini was born of a musical family in 1858. He struggled until he was 35, and then with the premiere of Manolosco in 1893, everything he touched turned to gold. The elegant, dapper Puccini had three great passions in life: hunting, women, and music. He combined his fascination for women and music by creating some of the finest prima donna roles ever written for opera, and satisfied his passion for hunting at his beautiful villa, Torre del Lago. As shown in these rare films, Puccini's success allowed him to spend time at what he called his paradise, where he savored the woods and water that surrounded him and secluded himself for work. Eva Turner's successor in the role of Turandot was Italian soprano Gina Cigna.
I understand it's an award that was given to you.
They gave me 2 years ago this statue because they thought I was the best, excuse me if I speak about myself, I was the most beautiful Turandot in the world. I finished my, you know, and I take this prize. I'm very, very proud, really. I sang 500 times.
500?
Turandot in all the world. You know, I don't sing for a long time now, but when I hear Turandot, I have something here who make me very bad. The first time I was at opera, I said, I want to come to be a singer. And I started to study, and I found Madame Emma Calvé, the famous Emma Calvé.
Calvé took her 23-year-old pupil Gina Cigna to audition for Toscanini, then the musical director of La Scala. Arturo Toscanini, born in 1867, influenced the musical world of the 20th century more than any other conductor. From the premiere of La Bohème, which he conducted, Toscanini became a devoted friend to the elegant Puccini and an ardent champion of his music. Toscanini's great love was always the Italian opera, and throughout his long career, he supported new singers.
When I had the last audition with Toscanini, I was dead. Like this. Said, well, sing now Cieli Azzurri.
From Aida.
Cieli Azzurri, my throat was totally closed.
Nervous.
And I see so far away, oh, that I can't hear me. I start, oh, Cieli. He stopped me, said, I'm not this, non sono sordo.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, this was the first impression. It was not very good, the first impression. Well, anyway, I sang this, I sang Norma, and I entered on the Scala for the first time.
That was in 1927.
I sang Tosca. You are here for Tosca. But, you know, I studied Tosca with the creatrice of Tosca, Madame Darclay. Toscanini sent me to Madame Darclay to study Tosca. I think she was a little in love with
Darclay was in love with Puccini?
Yes.
Do you think he tailored the role for Madame Darclay?
Puccini writes Visidarte for Madame Darclay.
So Puccini wrote Visidarte at Darclay's insistence.
Yes, we speak about Puccini, always.
I Live for Art. Tosca will continue.
Tosca. I have the possibility to enter in this personality.
I think that entering a personage is a kind of gift you're born with.
This is it, absolutely being the personage, or living it.
I try to go under the skin of the role I'm doing.
And you, every day, have to feel that this personage become a part of yourself. It's just like a mama when she prepares, you know, a baby.
If you don't do this, you are not artist. You know how much years on? I am 83 years old.
Gina Cigna, with a repertory of over 70 operas, had her all too brief career of 20 years cut off at the height of her powers.
I had a heart attack because I have accident of car. Terrible accident of car. And I was to sing Tosca in Vicenza when I had this terrible accident. And this made me, because I accept to sing Tosca. And after I was very, very, very sick. And I stopped my career in 47. In fact, I was in my bed for 43 days. And after the professor said, Madame Cigna, for you, it's finished. Life.
I have wonderful recollections of Gina Cigna. I met her at La Scala when I was at the very beginning of my career.
What inspired you to sing Tosca?
I sang every Puccini opera, and the last was Tosca, because, as I said, it was very difficult for me to understand, to go inside this character.
One has to be ready, and it's only then that one should sing. Youngsters should never sing Tosca. You should grow into that role.
I overacted it, absolutely. Who wouldn't? Everybody does it, I think, at the beginning. It tempts you.
First of all, I'm deeply convinced that a young beginning singer has no right to sing Tosca.
Tosca is a woman. I didn't think I could do this this part with authority.
I was very young when I sang Tosca. I was much too young.
I was too young and did another, all the experiences that life brings to you. So,
This woman that I could not understand, her feelings, her love, her passion, this form of religious hypocrisy she had, she was far from me. And I've tried to come nearer to this character, till one day suddenly I understood her. Of course, there are differences between Floria, Tosca, and me, because each of us is made differently. In Tosca, I can have human emotions. I know how to love, how to suffer in the same way that Tosca loved and suffered. My entire career has been one of suffering, because every performance, even the roles that I've sung many, many times, for me, each time was like singing it for the first time.
Distinguished as much for her acting as for her singing, Olivero is still performing at 70. She has sung only prima donna roles for over 50 years.
You made a sacrifice, Madame Olivero. When you married, you stopped your career. Why did you feel you had to stop singing?
I think that when one is fortunate,
The recent tragic death of her husband, for the love of whom she stopped singing for 10 years, perhaps ends a remarkable career.
the decision to stop my career was quite simple. I was expecting a baby. Then, unfortunately, the pregnancy was interrupted. This is the simple reason. So many theories have been stated about these 10 years of silence. The strangest things have been said, some of them very ridiculous. But it was only that I was expecting a baby, and then the war broke out.
Religion has played such an important part in your life in dealing with tragedies. Did that help you with the role of Tosca?
There is one difference between Tosca and me concerning religion. Tosca was not sincerely religious.
I don't think she was really very, very religious and very... No, she was going to church, first of all, because everybody was going to church.
Of course it's religious. Yes, yes.
Yeah, she was very religious, but I know what Tosca feels in her
heart.
bigotta, ma ho una grande fede.
I have a great faith, and I try to express this great faith of mine in song. I feel that every note that I sing is a gift of God.
Tosca was a religious woman, very religious, was educated with nuns like I was too.
70-year-old Licia Albanese made her career in America as a major soprano at the Met for over a quarter of a century. A Toscanini favorite, he chose her from many broadcasts and recordings. Where did you first sing Tosca?
On the Met.
That was your first performance. You didn't do it
The
in a
Met.
small theater? My.
Well, they asked me.
Was that difficult, Licia, to do your first performance at the Met?
This is a good story. No. This is a good story. I want to tell you. That's nice you came out, because sometimes I forget. I was here, and they promised me Tosca. Right? So, one day, Maestro Max Rudolph called here, and I was preparing myself to go to Italy. And they called up and said, Licia, you know, here, and they find out so many things. The Tosca, I don't think it's an opera for you, and so on, but they gave me the word. Well, I said, Maestro, listen, did you give this Tosca somebody else? Tell me the truth. If you give this Tosca somebody else, I'll be standby, all right? After a month, a call from Rudolph. So he said, you're going to give, you have your Tosca. Can you do Tosca without rehearsal, without the orchestra rehearsal? I said, certainly, why not? And I did. I always react in the opera with such an affection, with love, because I was singing with the same people for so many years. With you, with Pierce, with Pinzel. We fell in love on that stage. It's true. And I was very pleased to go away from home, because I loved to be, to sing, and then to be on the stage, to be with my colleagues, and to sacrifice myself. If they want a great career like Tosca had, have to make a lot of sacrifice. In so many ways. You know, we cannot go in particular things, because you have to sacrifice everything, in the food, eating and sleeping most of the time, and studying all the time, studying, I don't know, 3-4 hours a day.
You have to study, study, study all your life, you know.
I live a very disciplined life. One has to do that. I seldom go to parties.
If I don't see trees once a day, I start going very crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And working in rehearsal rooms without windows just about kills me.
You have to be very careful if the weather is not good like today. So you have to stay home and not go to sleep very early, and say no if somebody invited you to go to some party.
2 days beforehand, before an important opera, I don't talk. I don't eat certain foods. I don't drink any alcohol. My voice is, for me, so important that I don't even dare think about drinking any kind of wine or anything like that. You've got to have all your wits about you. And I can only do that if I know that this little mechanism here is working at its very greatest capacity. And I leave nothing, no stone unturned. No stone.
And when you do something that you like very much, there is no sacrifice at all, because everything is good for you.
When you're an artist, a soprano has high notes, that's easy. And that was easy for me, because my high notes are still there, and then and I love to sing on the high notes. The high notes is much better to stand up and do it, and then to walk in the front of the public. This is theater, which the public wants this. If you sing in the back, they stay there, nothing comes to us. But I used to walk slowly and say, perché, sing, no.
It's not like it was in earlier days, you know, as long as you had 3 gestures, 1 hand, 2 hands, and one up, it was enough, and then you went down to the prompter box and stand there so the people would hear you. No one is no one can accept that anymore.
It was another generation. We play theater now. Our generation, my generation, we play other theater, you know. We don't sing only and stay like that. We act, we live, we fell down, it's each minute life there.
I want to tell you, the first one really influenced me, now I remember, was Jeritza. Maria. She impressed me very much. First of all, the costumes. And she was a beauty, and she was tall, and she was the really Tosca for me.
Puccini himself coached the remarkable Maria Jeritza for the Vienna premiere of Tosca in 1909. Jeritza is one of the legends of opera.
And the second year when I sang Tosca, she came. And she sat always in the first row with such a great head, you know. She was a fantastic looking woman. And when I came to bow it, I always bowed like that to her. She was very sweet.
Welitsch, the brilliant Viennese opera star, dominated the world stages in the 1940s and 50s. Not only her voice, but her magnetism and flamboyance electrified roles like Tosca, which she first performed in Vienna.
And Tosca was such a sensation. Then I went then to London with Tosca. I learned Tosca in Italian, I learned Tosca in German, I learned Tosca in English for England, for Covent Garden, and so I came to America with Tosca too later. You see, my dear, I sang Tosca in many theaters, so I didn't have time as guest singer to have a long time for rehearsals. So I came on the stage before the performance sometime, half an hour. Nobody was in theater, and I saw, there you go, there you die, there you kill him, and there you jump. And so it's already in my fantasy, in my body.
Puccini put such precise directions, you know, who smiled, who turned away, who looked, who entered, who exited.
I think that standby, it's very dangerous for singers if they do that constantly, because you never get the rehearsals, you know.
I was always called the emergency girl because Mr. Adler would call me and say, Dorothy, can you come up and sing tomorrow? What, Tosca? Oh, the opening, oh, Tosca, okay, sure, I'll be there. And I was always here. And I love that. That's the time I love it best, is when it's really an emergency, because I think that gets the adrenaline going like nothing else.
And Luba, we also sang another role together, another opera together.
Which, my dear?
In Bohème. I was Marcella when you were Musetta, and that wonderful evening where something happened, that Mr. Bing became very angry.
I was very naughty, Musetta, they said in the paper, you know.
Well, what happened?
I don't know what happened. It was temperament and sensational. Everything was fantastic.
They said that you didn't dress completely. You left out one of your garments.
Maybe I don't remember anymore, but it was fantastic performance.
I know that some of the musicians in the first row, when I picked you up and after the big scene, the two violinists almost fainted, and the
Oh, that's all right, why? That's live, that's live.
They saw something that I don't know what.
It was exciting.
It was exciting for
I don't remember any more exciting Musetta like that, especially when I say that. But in London, I stopped the show. My father didn't like it. I should be singer because singer is not a beruf, how they not profession, you know.
Yeah, it's not a profession.
No, so I finished gymnasium and I went to Sofia and I went to the director and she said, I'm singer. I was 18 years old. I am singer, I want to be engaged. And he asked me, can you sing? I said, of course I can sing. I sang to him and he engaged me and so started my life through Vienna and all the world.
And the greatest Salome, by the way, that I've ever seen.
Sometimes I think it's maybe good that I don't sing anymore. But I did much work after I stopped to singing. I made 75 movies in Deutschland, in England, and almost 35 TV plays as actor. And it was a fantastic time. I learned it very much to another branch,
another aspect of our business.
That's right, that's right. I had private, always unluck. With my husbands, Carlos had always rich, tremendous rich men as our husbands. Yeah. I had always poor husbands, poor boys. They were nothing, they didn't have nothing. So that's the difference between me and Carlos. And I had not luck with my private life because, you see, I had to travel there and there, to London, to Neapel, to America, South America, my recitals and so on. Who waits? Nobody waits. And now I have my Bobelina and I'm very happy now.
I think one of the greatest Toscas, I can really say, next to the very exciting Callas and the very heavenly singing Tebaldi, was for me in Vienna when I was a student, Welitsch.
Leonie Rysanek has joined the ranks of the great Viennese Toscas, Jeritza and Welitsch.
I always liked her Tosca very much. She was like me, running and very nervous, very vibrant. And there's another thing about Tosca. Maybe I'm wrong. I always had the feeling Tosca had to be a little bit older than Cavaradossi.
Yeah.
A little bit. So her extreme jealousy would be very logical then, or let's see, more logical than she is extremely jealous.
And I feel the same atmosphere, because really I'm very jealous.
She's jealous, and but not with exaggeration.
My Tosca was never a Tosca mad jealous. No, with a smile.
Because she is a lady from the stage.
That's what I thought in my role in Tosca. He's a great lady.
Some singers think the Scarpia throws her on the floor or something, you know, she throws herself on the floor. I didn't like that, ever.
But in the violence of the attempted rape, Scarpia may throw her on the floor.
I think that Tosca is a great lady, you know, and she's not supposed to be on the floor.
I always ask all the Scarpias, please, please, do me the favor and drop me. So and I fall down and I'm singing lying down, the recitate on the floor. And I learned, you know what I learned, found out? I was not the first one who did that. Maria Jeritza, the late Maria Jeritza, she was the favorite Tosca of Puccini. And Puccini came to Vienna to rehearse with her, her first Tosca. And she fell on accidentally. And was flat on her body and started to sing Visidate. And Puccini yelled from the pit he was conducting, "This is absolutely the position it remains." And from this day on, she did it.
In fact, until the very end of Puccini's life, Jeritza remained his favorite Tosca.
I do not think Tosca is a woman who takes the knife, turns around and, come on, boy. I don't believe that. When you come, Tosca finalmente mia, that means there is no more way out for her. And in the moment you sing, I smash the glass, take the knife, kill him. This goes in 2 seconds, 3 seconds. But I have to do this. I do not have fights with stage directors. They say, no, he's sitting at the desk and I want you to come from behind and kill him from behind. I said, oh no, not with me, take another Tosca. I do not believe in that. And I really couldn't do it. I could not make myself do it. And I believe, and that's what I do, and that's very important for
me. The New York Post called the Rysanek the singing Sarah Bernhardt.
Puccini first saw the character Floria Tosca brought to life by Sarah Bernhardt in Sardou's play in 1887. He was so moved by this great star that he decided it would be the subject of a new opera, and he incorporated Bernhardt's performance in his stage directions. Floria Tosca was a prima donna who gave all for art and love. Leonate, is there anything left for a personal life?
I have to be very honest. The stage is at least 75% of my life. It is.
It is.
I'll be very honest. Of course, it's beautiful to have a wonderful marriage as I have and everything, and I enjoy it, and I'm very grateful for it. But there is nothing for me in the whole world compared to a good, great evening. When I go home, I go to bed and you did a fine job.
Accomplishment. You created something. Yes.
It's a great, great, wonderful feeling.
Absolutely.
My art had to come first when I was doing it.
Dorothy Kirsten, 40 years on the American operatic stage, born and bred in the United States, one of the great spinto sopranos of our time.
Dorothy, this dressing room, San Francisco, I know has great meaning to you. Tell us about it.
So very meaningful, Bob. Mano Lescaut, La Boheme, The Girl of Golden West.
And the charming butterfly. Dorothy, you call yourself a spinto. What is a spinto soprano?
The spinto voice is beyond the lyric soprano and a little before the dramatic soprano. It's that in-between voice that allows one to use dramatic singing as well as lyric singing. And it's a marvelous sound because you do really give all of the voice in spinto.
Strange for an opera star to begin her career in radio with such stars as Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra.
I began my professional career in radio. I had no idea I was ever going to be a prima donna, but I did sing with Frank for 2 years on the air and had a ball.
You waited until 1951 to do your entire Tosca, entire performance of Tosca. Why did you wait that long?
I was always one for waiting until it was time to sing the right roles. This is the reason why I've sung for all these 40 years.
I know.
30 years at the Metropolitan, 25 years here, and still going. I've always wanted to sing strong characters, and I was ready for a wonderfully dramatic role at that time.
I Live for Art. Tosca will continue.
Jump. Well, the night of the performance came, and I was going to jump from that height, hook or crook. I did. Nearly died jumping because it was a terrible sensation, and I did it 3 times.
I had a very bad fall. They can put the mattresses straight this way,
Yes.
and they could do it this way.
Yes.
Well, each time I rehearsed the mattresses, and it was a free fall of my arms straight up in the air and falling free.
Yes.
There was no sort of jump.
No.
And they put the mattresses this way for everyone. The one time I didn't look, they
no.
put the mattresses like that.
No.
So 1 year later, I
Yes.
still am trying to get my arm back into position.
We went to the Alexandra Theatre Hall, which was a small opera house, a small theatre, and the drop was very shallow. And I did it, as they said, with great conviction, and I came up again.
He bounced up.
Yes, I did.
So you were the one that bounced up. But
Well, it
now
was
we
me.
find out it
It's
was you.
Me.
One of the rewards of being a prima donna is all the wonderful gifts you get.
This lovely gift and 2 of these beautiful goblets were given to me by Jimmy Levine with a bouquet of something like 24 beautiful American Beauty roses and a card which said, Tosca, finalmente mia, which means,
That's wonderful,
Tosca,
very thoughtful.
finally you were mine.
And I got this fan. Her signature is here in gold with a crown.
Beautiful.
And this is the grandmother of our King Carl Gustav XVI. It's fantastic. And they wanted I to use it, the Tosca.
Birgit Nilsson, the marvelous Swedish soprano, is unique in opera. The greatest Wagnerian soprano of our day. She also triumphs in the Italian repertory.
I was asked by Mr. Rudolph Bing years ago to sing Wagner, and I turned it down. I didn't know whether I could make the break from the Italian to German. You are a perfect example of doing both. How did you bridge that?
I speak German very well, and I speak Italian so-so. Okay, I go along. And, well, anyway, I think every composer is best in the original language. You get that immediately, you know. To sing Tosca in German, I heard it once. I thought I would get crazy. In German, you know, sei contento? Bist du zufrieden? And then he said, does he say? He said, certo or something like that. I forgot. And then she said, ja, freilich. Isn't that how? You know, all the romantic, romanticism, everything goes away. Many of us are in the same position as Tosca. You know, Tosca was very much in love, and I'm sure she was dreaming of a future together with Cavaradossi, and I think for her, I think the love came in the first place. And
Do you think she would have given up her career?
Yes, for a while. I'm sure she would, but after a few years, I'm sure she would have come back. If a woman is in love, it doesn't matter what, if she's a prima, she maybe acts a little bit different because she is used to the stage and used with, you know, big gestures or whatever. But if a woman is in love, we are all alike. One of my very first Cavaradossi was Beniamino Gigli.
Oh, no.
And then I sang with Jussi Björling, Di Stefano, and Franco Corelli was wonderful. And of course then with Placido Domingo. I think my youngest Cavaradossi I sang with was José Carreras. So I have sang with almost 2 or 3 generations, almost.
All those Latins, Birgit, all those Latins.
All those Latins, yes.
How about conductors?
I loved every minute.
Birgit, that enormous voice of yours, do you have to protect it in a role like Tosca?
Well, it comes then automatically to you, you know? You have to protect something here in your throat, and you can act very, very... Because Tosca, there are not only one singer who has killed herself in that role, but many, many singers in this dramatic act in the second act.
But if you want to do something very real in the stage, you have to forget sometimes your voice, even if you know very well that you do something that probably is not good for your throat, for your voice.
There's no happy medium in this role at all. One has to have every kind of piece of technique that one can muster.
You have to start, having come through all of that suffering, all that emotion, having given everything, then you have to stop and then start another aria.
That was not a bad Tosca, but you know, Vichy, that was not the best I did in the past. That's funny, because I was acting too dramatic, too much, and you have to say so.
And you suffer for it a little later.
Hey. And the day after, I say, oh, go back to your piano and do some technique.
Because all those outbursts, which are really quite exposed outbursts, you have A naturals, you have B flat, you have B naturals, and high Cs. And it's not just 1 or 2 of them, and they come constantly.
The second is very difficult. Says, ah, je te souhaite ma mère, ça va, miserable.
And then you've got that very delicate VC Dorothy then to sing. How do you scale that big voice down, that big dramatic voice down to this delicate pianissimo?
If I do too much in the second act, then usually I'm too tired to sing a very, very easy and beautiful third act. So I always have to watch myself, and this is, for me, always the most difficult thing.
I have become Gloria Tosca. But another part of me is standing beside me and watching and controlling the sound.
There are a lot of singers who tell me, if I on stage and sing this and this part, there stays me next to the part, watching myself and telling myself, do this, do this. I can't. I tried it once. I can't. It's not my nature. I forget everything, which is wrong. Sometimes the music and the notes too, or get them at least mixed up.
In a certain way, I have the impression that when I am too emotional on stage and I realize I am too emotional, I lost my role.
You shouldn't have to think about, does the voice work now? Where do I put that note? Where do I put that note? It's impossible.
I think when I have to think about my sound, it means I am a slave of my sound. And when I am a slave of something, I'd rather do another job.
Somehow it's like a vacation, you know, when you sing a lot of long Wagnerian roles. Tosca is so short to me. I think it is easier to go from Wagner to Puccini than from Wagner to Verdi.
You see, no, Verdi is something different.
That's what I
But the voice must be always the same. You know, you should never change the color or way of phrasing, because that has to be always the same, you see. That's why I never sang Wagner, because I feel that in Wagner also you have to sing soft, but it is a different style, you know, of the music, you see. It's a different music.
Yugoslavian Zinka Milanov made her Met debut in 1937 and remained its leading soprano for over 30 years. Strangely, her New York career began in Prague.
They had about 150 people to audition, you know, and when I came back, you know, the house was closed, the auditions are all finished. So I said to my manager, Mr. Stransky, I said, look, I said, they're finished, and I hear nobody's engaged. I said, who am I to hope that I will be engaged, you know? And he said, oh, don't say that, you know, there is always a possibility. So I came, you know, we came up, you know, can imagine, you know, they asked me to sing Turandot, the big aria. And then he said, do you have something else? Can imagine I sang in Yugoslav. So I sang, it came out, everything good. So he said, he got up and he said, can you have breakfast with us tomorrow? We will have a contract. A bad one, but it was a contract.
It was a contract.
Nevertheless, it was a contract that brought you to the Met from 1937 to 47.
When I came to Metropolitan, they tried many times, you know, to push me down and to make miserable life for me, and my colleagues too. But when I married my husband, you know, and left 1947, you will not believe that not one of the colleagues told me, goodbye, and say, we are sorry, we will miss you.
Oh.
Well, that's the way it is, you see.
Well.
But I came back. When I came back, I knew all that, you know, and I had that behind me.
It all opened up.
And suddenly, you know, I felt like a queen on the stage.
Tosca came late in your career.
Mr. Baldi canceled Aida. She was supposed to do Aida that evening, and she got sick. So Mr. Bing called me at noon and asked me if I would, I said, you are calling me. I said, I'm not a standby, so what do you want from me? I had a very good evening last night, you know, not watching my voice. And he said, well, I have something very nice to offer you to sing your first Tosca. I was discovered as a Puccini heroine, the next day that the newspaper said, oh, this is something, you know, that we don't know, Madame Milanov, you know, and it was a marvelous, marvelous write-up, you know, and I was accepted as Tosca. I fulfilled my career until I retired, and many people think that I should have stayed more, but this is also included my seriousness and my love, because I did not want to sing anymore for much longer. It would show on my voice, and I wanted that my public remembers me the way I
Because you're an honest person.
Even though the wearing of a tiara in the second act of Tosca is traditional, Maria Callas found out that an unmarried woman would not wear a tiara while singing before a queen.
You just have to aspire to do. And whether I do it well or not, I like to aspire to do what she did. That, for me, is the epitome of prima donna, Maria Callas.
Do you enjoy being a prima donna?
Of course I do. Why not?
Why not?
I work very
Absolutely.
hard for it, but it's not something that I work towards. I work towards doing a very good job. I work towards satisfying an audience.
Accomplishment.
And if my audience is satisfied with what I've done, then I'm pleased. I really didn't want to sing opera at first. I was at the Music Academy of the West in Santa Barbara studying with Lotte Lehmann, and but I really wanted to study the art of recital. And it was she who insisted that I take also the operatic classes. And after my first little entry into that, I was doing Amneris in the Opera Aida, and I thought, gee, I like this. This is really quite something. And it was actually Lotte Lehmann really who got me started.
She inspired many, many, many young artists.
Yeah.
From Amneris as a student to Tosca at the Met in 10 years.
And it was my first Tosca ever.
My gosh, Grace, how brave.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, you know, I even did my very first Salome in Covent Garden. That was just a year before I did my Metropolitan Tosca debut. But the Bayreuth Venus.
In the Opera Tannhäuser, in Wagner's own opera house.
That was really an extraordinary debut to make. I mean, for a black singer, an American singer, to sing there in Bayreuth.
I didn't have the luxury of breaking in roles in Europe.
You say luxury. One can look at it from a different point of view, too. I mean, you had the Metropolitan to do it in, but you didn't have to go to Europe.
Well, that's true.
I had to go to Europe. And I just think that if you really want to make a serious career and also an exciting career, you've got to take chances. My husband and I had this problem. He felt that I had to be a mezzo. I mean, and I felt that, listen, I can't force my voice to do one thing or the other. I go where it wants to go. And these two little things in here said to me, you have to follow the soprano way. And that's what I did. That's why our marriage split up. He insisted that I stay mezzo. And I insisted that I follow my vocal cords. And I think I was right. As we can see, I've been singing now 12 years as a soprano, and it's been very, very successful, as you well know. Being black is in this profession is no great problem. Not really. Once you've gotten your foot in your door, of course, and you have this great talent, etc., that's not the big problem. I think what we're trying to go is being black, going back to this early childhood in St. Louis, Missouri, etc. That's not easy, you see, because so many of your friends. This is a very difficult question. So many of your early friends don't really understand what you're about. Oftentimes they tend to think you're putting on airs. I know I went through that period where they thought, oh, what, she's speaking all these languages, and she's being snooty, she's being arrogant, she's being, you can't reach her, you know. But they failed to remember that Grace made certain sacrifices to get there. And those same sacrifices hold true and hold through, straight through to today. I think many times about having traveled from St. Louis to where I am now, Because, first of all, I must tell you, I used to be a very, very, very shy girl. Very timid. Very timid. And here I am just flailing my arms all about the place. I just don't know how I got from there to there.
It's good to remember hard times, because then you realize how splendorous is what you become after.
Spanish soprano Montserrat Caballé, reigning prima donna in every opera house. We talked together in the room in Milan where Verdi died.
We were very poor, and then I was only not even 13 when I was beginning to study voice.
Where did you do your first Tosca?
When I was in my first contract in Basel in Switzerland, they offered me a cover to sing the Tosca. And I said yes, only because I wanted the contract. Only because of that. I thought when I have signed the contract as a cover for everything, they will realize I cannot sing the Tosca. You see, they lend me a part, but they don't.
In the meantime, you had
they
the
made
job.
me sing the Tosca. But you see, Puccini is one of my lieblings composers, and I love Tosca so much, and represents so much, and that music is too much not to do it. Not to do it. I have to do it. I feel I have to do it. When I don't feel that the music goes again inside my veins, I don't think the personage can come to me. I really need to go through the personage, through the feeling of the music, because at last I am an opera singer, and the opera, it's music with voice, with sound and words. You cannot do it like a drama. At least I cannot.
First is the words. So when you know the words and the music well, then you put the acting.
Because the character is my interest first. The singing comes second to me, always has.
I read all about it and so on, and then invade the music and the diction and so on.
Once I have the music learned, then I go into the drama.
Usually what happens is that music is very prevalent, and it has much more emphasis than the libretto.
In other words, the music is first and the drama falls into place.
It is already there.
It's already there.
Even in the music is like you have to move. Even in the music is written, and in the pause is your crime.
Take attention for each pause, which is very important, and each note, because I heard from Richard Strauss once when I learned it with him, Salome, he said, Madame Welitsch, don't forget, each note has the right to leave. Isn't that wonderful?
You know, Toscanini said the same thing.
Yeah. Each note, if small note, Achtel or the sixth note, has the right to leave.
In 1959, my first Tosca, it was an experience, incredible experience, and Silvio Boravisa was the conductor at the time. I have to say he helped me a lot, because he put the orchestra very soft in the heavy moments, and really it's a wonderful memory of that time, of my beginning of my career.
I don't know if you know it, but I have done my first Tosca. I find that if I sing it with an excellent conductor who is going to put the voice first and the orchestra second, which not very many conductors do, then you've got a chance of winning.
Yes,
you know,
that's right.
and by
Yes.
getting through to the last
Yes,
act.
that's right.
In the past, and when I say in the past, maybe 20 years, 25 years ago, to have a Studio Serafin conductor, or the De Savata is now really conductors where they don't conduct only the Giuseppe Verdi operas or the other composers, but they show the singers how to sing the part, how it was supposed to be.
Yes, yes. And so we haven't got the chance for the so-called singer to come first.
They are not good as before, that is true. They are maybe spectacular, but abundancia means not quality to me.
This is how it's going today.
But why should it be?
I met my husband on stage singing Madame Butterfly, which is the best present music can make to me. And then through the music, I lost my first child. I have been in the hospital between 1963 and 1974, 10 times, 10 operations, 7 major ones. I realize I have to be a very strong woman to have go through all that and singing all that performance and having my children and everything. So I am sure, of course I cancel sometimes because I am sick. It's true, it's true. But I don't know a human being that is not true. The only thing is when I'm cancel something, it's like a catastrophe, a war catastrophe. Of course, that is something I cannot explain. I can understand the delusion of the people when I am not there. They never thought about my delusion, these audiences. They cannot imagine how it means to prepare an opera, to be ready. Because afraid we are always. Every night. And an opening night or the not opening night, we are always afraid. But afraid means not to sing. I'm going always on stage. The only thing, and this is true, this is when somebody like me is sick. It is the most depressing moment in our career. And I am very thankful that I could sing and have these 2 children.
I didn't have any children. If I did it all over again, I would have a child. Even if I didn't have a husband, I would do it.
I didn't have this longing to have a child because the time was rushing in my life. I was rushing all the way.
You men have it easy. You men have it easy in that you are able to combine them. You're able to have a family life, and you're able to have your career as well.
When I am in my age now, I always often think, well, I should have a son or a daughter, and why I didn't do that, but because of my career.
Regine Crespin has been the only French soprano in the dramatic repertory for the last quarter century. In her intensity, Crespin resembles Tosca.
I like that part and I like Tosca because she's a real woman. She's a warm woman. She has all the quality that a woman should have. And she's feminine, a little jealous. Of course, if you love, you are jealous, I think. If not, if you are not that jealous, you don't love. I can be temperamental if you want, but I think the only one I was really shouting and angry was with my husband. And I shout so much that I had to shut my mouth. I have to say, for 1 month, I couldn't sing 1 note. Lou was really my first big love, and we stayed together 12 or 13 years, and it was really a nice time. Well, it is difficult for a man to be married to a soprano, I mean, to a prima donna. He has two choices. He stay home doing what he has to do and working on what he has to work, or he follows her, which is not always the best choice. Or if you accept to be separated for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, it's a problem, really. And then finally, after some years, you separate because it cannot go very long. I was suffering, I was in pain, and because of that time I was suffering and I was unhappy, I didn't sing so well. And we paid the price. Yeah. I mean, we have a fabulous, I was going to say a job, which is not, it is a job, it is not a job, it is an art. But we are lucky enough to work on something we love.
I live for art. Tosca will continue.
Also the fact to have don't have any child. It was difficult. For instance, I can't say it because now it is allowed, to have an abortion. And when I was, just when I met my husband, I got pregnant, and of course I wanted to keep that child because I wanted a child at that time. And everybody told me, my God, but you are going to Bayreuth for the first year, for the first time next summer. You have to go. It's an opportunity you will never find again. So they said first Bayreuth, and then you will have another child, and then I never got pregnant again. So the story, one of the stories of my life, which is, how do you call a regret? I mean, sad memory. But not everybody can accept that kind of crazy life. It is a crazy life.
You said Tosca changed your life.
Yeah.
How did it change your life?
Потому что она, в общем, явилась какой причиной.
Tosca was the last point that led to our decision to leave the Soviet Union.
Galina Vishnevskaya was the leading soprano of the Soviet Union, and when she left Russia in 1974, she gave up her position as prima donna and perhaps shortened her career.
Потому что это было связано с записью на граммофонную пластинку.
It was connected with a recording that we were about to do.
Yeah. Мы делали запись с Ростроповичем, который был уже в опале к тому времени.
We had been scheduled to do the recording with Rostropovich. After we had begun the recording, my colleagues, Plantov, Obraztsova, went to the Central Committee of the Communist Party and demanded that Rostropovich be removed. Their point was that such a political criminal had no right to conduct the Bolshoi Theater Orchestra. And why was he a political criminal? Simply because we had given shelter to Solzhenitsyn. The recording was stopped. I told Rostropovich to write his declaration that we were going to leave.
I'm very happy here. In thanks, many thanks, my colleague in Russia who doing this.
The prima donna is different in Russia, in the Soviet Union, than they are here.
Perhaps a Western prima donna can go for the eyes of her competitor. There, they know where to go. You go to the KGB, and that's easy. Of course, if you stop taking into consideration these moral outrages that exist, just ordinary, everyday life, there is such a tremendous difference.
Абсолютно. Это простаивать в очередях нужно стоять.
Even a prima donna has to stand in line.
Yeah. За продуктами?
For her groceries.
Если есть дети, надо за ними самой смотреть.
If you have children, you have to take care of them by yourself.
Поэтому у певиц, артисток Большого театра, редко у кого есть дети.
That's why very few singers in the Bolshoi Theater have children.
Очень трудно сочетать работу в театре
It's very difficult to coincide the normal life, everyday life, with an artistic career.
How did it feel when you sang in Italian?
В русской опере очень мало эффектов для голоса, просто для голоса.
There are very few effects simply for the voice in Russian opera.
Очень мало высоких нот.
Very few high notes.
Как Puccini, если он хочет выразить эмоцию, он дает си бемоль.
That if Puccini wants to give you a lot of emotion, he'll take you up to a high C. For a tenor. And Mussorgsky, to express emotion, will bring you an octave lower.
Yeah.
What powers of emotionality and what depth of expression do you need in order to be able to express this through the orchestra out to the audience? A Russian singer comes to an Italian opera, it's like getting a rest cure. It's like butter in your throat.
In my 40 years on stage, one of the most sumptuous voices I've ever heard was Renata Tebaldi's.
Renata Tebaldi. She was a beautiful Tosca voice.
She was our leader, she was our Traviata, our Manon Lescaut, she was all the roles. And she was the most perfect human voice we ever heard.
Toscanini said you had the voice of an angel.
He also liked attractive women, too.
Yes.
So it wasn't only your musical ability and your gorgeous voice. I think he liked you as a very...
Probably.
The singing of Tosca is so passionate, yes, so demanding. How do you control your voice so not to affect and tire your voice?
When you are sure about your technica, you can sing whatever you want, you see. And even when you are in the stage, you must relax sometime. You must feel something in your inside of you, and this is, I think, this beautiful.
You have to.
And the people immediately know if you are sincere or not. If you do something like this because you want to do like this, but you don't feel inside. If you cry because you cry and that you feel inside to cry, the people immediately cap this and understand.
You had no hesitation about singing a demanding role like Tosca, yet your sense of humility seems to have prevented you from singing the role of Norma.
The Maestro Serafin asked to me many, many times, why you don't sing Norma? Why you don't sing Norma? Keep 6 months just for you. And I coach Norma every day. And I say, no, Maestro, I think that I'm not ready to sing Norma. For this sense of humility that was almost the time in me. And now the humility seems to me that doesn't have any significato anymore. And I'm very simple woman. Just I want to have everything it's necessary to have. No much, no more.
Do you like being a prima donna or being called a prima donna?
It's not necessary that somebody say to you that you are a prima donna because you are born prima donna. I don't know if it's true or not.
Apart from opera, your mother was your entire life. Her death must have been a shattering experience for you.
She started to be not good in Chicago in 1957. And after Chicago, we go to New York. And she was really most worst. And I called Mr. Bing and I said to him, excuse me, but I think it's impossible for me to sing the performance that I have to sing at the Metropolitan because my mother doesn't feel well. Friday night, Mama began to be very, very sick. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, she died. And it was really something terrible that happened to me. And never forget the Cardinal Spellman. They take care of everything. The church was full of people. Something incredible. There is somebody that take a movie, but no, I don't want to see it because it's really something that's too much. But in the same time, I cannot forget this. American people, what they do, the demonstration, because everybody knows Mama Giuseppina, they call Mama. No, Tebaldi mother, but Mama Giuseppina for everyone.
So she was your inspiration the day you were born, probably.
Yes. When my mother died, I said, I don't want to do anything anymore. I want to stop my career. I stop everything. Just if my life was finished too. But, you know, my career was fantastic. But now I'm very happy because I have the possibility to do in my life what before was impossible to do. You know, just a little thing.
Yes.
But you know, when you stand up in the morning, immediately you know what happened in your throat. Now, who cares if I have a cold or I don't care anymore.
Do you find that in looking at, say, my era now, do you think that that has all gone out the door, or do you still think the diva still lives?
Oh, indeed, yeah. Today, the young singer, they earn so much money, and that they don't have time to rehearsal often.
But they just like to work a little bit, and then they have to go out, and they like to make money. And this is not the way to do it, you know, because you make money if you sing well.
They don't have time to build their own personality, to come on the stage and to be there. I'm here. And to suggest on your audience, I am here. You have to look at me. You have to follow me. You see, that's the time.
It was the period of the diva.
Last but not least is our youngest Tosca. From New Zealand, 39 years of age, Dame Kiri Te Kanawa.
I say now, I think they should forget about the time up to, say, 1960.
Yes.
Because that time was the glorious time, and the time that I'm sitting in now is the time where they're trying to kill us off with a jet plane.
It has to be from the very, very first moment that I was feeling like something like, this is what I want to be.
It's difficult to raise a family and to have a big career and to travel around, and you cannot have the cake and eat it.
You have to sacrifice yourself, otherwise you don't become anybody.
It is like a kind of drug for you, singing.
It's all-encompassing.
I never missed having children, you know, because I was preoccupied and full of love for my work.
I love children, I love family, but in the same time I'm not disappointed because I have not family. In the end, I must say that I have a big family, probably the most big family in the world, because the public love me in every place of the world, and I don't feel alone.
It's a lonely life, I grant you, definitely, but it's worth it.